Tarrant County voters will breathe a sigh of relief tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock when the polls close in that Democratic primary runoff election. For several weeks now, the air has been hot with charges and countercharges. Gutter politics has been the name of the game, with most of the action in the Precinct 4 County Commissioner's race between incumbent George Skeet Richardson and hopeful Steve Murray. Both candidates have been accused of dirty politics due to phantom mailings to voters, which have been aimed at Steve Murray primarily. Both candidates deny sending the mailings. In that 10th senatorial district, incumbent Don Kennard faces Representative Joe Shannon, Jr. The exchanges between the candidates have been fiery and at times bitter. In other political contests, Mike Moncrief and Dave Massey are vying for State Representative Place 1. The post is presently held by Mike Moncrief, Joe Spurlock II, and Robert L. Bob Strickland for Place 6, State Representative's post. In the Watauga's Justice of Peace Precinct 4 race, it's between Clyde W. Glover and William J. Egner. In addition, there are 3 runoffs for Democratic Precinct Chairman. This is Art Sinclair, Channel 8 News on the Move, Tarrant County.
Actually, these movies are second-rate to our girls that we have dancing.
Well, do you think this is wrong? This crackdown attitude that the law is taking on so-called obscene literature?
Well, really, I have no opinion on it. We don't really want the movies to be too hardcore. I mean, now that the rulings came up, it's limited the competition, and we can really show what we want to, because we don't want the movies to come in competition with the girls.
Well, number one, the upholding of it, we've been under a restraining order from Judge Taylor that we couldn't file any charges or try anybody or bring any restraining orders. This will have the effect of relieving us. We have about 30 cases pending now that we'll immediately set down for trial. We'll also have some restraining orders that we've got pending that we'll proceed with. The police now are restrained also. They can go make other cases on pornography, and it'll start with your rawest type of pornography and come on down as we go.
Rush into this theater and let us turn on your pleasure machine. Believe us, we know where the switch is. The pleasure machines. They could do anything people could do, only longer and better. There's nothing wrong with those words. They're all in the dictionary, but they weren't necessarily meant to be put together in that order. Does this disturb you? Well, that's one side of the obscenity law. What does and does not constitute obscenity and profanity. This may be objectionable to you, but what about your neighbor? This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
On the 6th floor of the Dallas County Records Building here is located a state welfare agency which may be in trouble. The agency to which I refer is the Child Welfare Division of the State Welfare Organization. In recent months, there have been grumblings among some local officials that Dallas County is being shortchanged on welfare services and money, and a study of the facts in the matter seemed to substantiate the charge. 5 years ago, when the county turned child welfare over to the state promised 65 workers in the office here. 5 years later, there are only 44 workers in the office, and many of these are performing duties in no way related to child welfare. What really disturbs some local officials is that some of the workers use Dallas County facilities and expense money to drive to Ellis and other counties to perform work they should be doing in Dallas County. And this perhaps would be okay, except there are indications they aren't doing the job in Dallas County. As an example, one disgruntled caseworker told me the agency did not process a single child abuse case during one recent 1.5 month period. And that wasn't because there weren't any cases to be processed. The situation has reached the point that a number of concerned citizens several months ago decided to form an investigating committee and look into the matter. The results of that investigation are to be presented to Dallas County Commissioners Monday, and their reaction might be interesting. It is the responsibility of the County Commissioners Court to provide services for the less fortunate children of this county. One county commissioner I talked to assured me that the county is paying for that service, and he said, one way or another, the county is going to get it. This is Tommy Ayers reporting for Channel 8 News.
There's over 189 schools in the Dallas Independent School District and more than 25,000 low-income young people who go to school. Those young people need extra money to buy clothes and school supplies. The Dallas Independent School District last year had a pilot project that directly and indirectly helped those students. Richard Musgrave, the Dallas Independent School District Director of Maintenance, explains.
Regardless of what part of town it might be in, there's always ways some boys can use some extra money. What they use it for is their own privilege, of course, but usually when they want to work, they need clothes.
Did you hear any complaints from the regular custodians, janitors, and maids?
Personally, no. In most cases, we were so short of help, they were real happy to have them. If we heard anything, it was compliments.
I feel that there would be a morale factor if you bring them in and pay them the same amount that you would pay a man that's been working 12 or 15 years for the school.
Some students need this money very desperately to stay in school. Would you say that they shouldn't get the money?
No, definitely not. I wouldn't say that. I think they could probably be a program worked out that would be satisfactory to the school and to the students. But I'm not in favor of giving them equal pay with a man that's been working 12, 15 years.
Only 16 schools participated in the program last year. Even with minor objections, the program is valid and there is a need. At the job fair here in Dallas last Tuesday, thousands of students went and begged for a job. Hundreds had to go home jobless. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Jess Brown.
John Baker.
John, what kind of job do you want this summer?
Well, it didn't really make any difference. I just want a summer job. I'm out of college, and
What are you going to do with the money?
use it for college, I guess.
Okay. Young lady, what's your name?
Debbie Baker,
Where are you from, Debbie?
Burleson.
What are you going to do with a summer job?
Well, I want to save my money because I'm going to college in the fall.
Where do you plan to go?
Brantley Drawn, Business College.
Any particular type of job you'd like to have?
Yes, an office job if I could.
It's 15 minutes from downtown, from the expressway. Its shoreline encompasses 5 cities now and some area that is unincorporated. There's no question in my mind that to do it properly, this should be developed to urban standards because it's so sure that it will be urban. And this is the effort that we're trying to make now to cooperatively work with all of these counties and cities to see that this is done and save having to come back and do it right again.
Why do you feel that the North Texas Council of Governments would be the logical agency to enforce this?
Well, the North Texas Council of Government is, of course, a group formed by these entities plus others in the Council of Governments area. They have and have done the planning that is so essential to this area, and this report will be completed in July. They also have the capabilities of retaining staff that can work for all of these agencies, and that we will have uniformity of enforcement or regulations.
Paul Shelton is dead, and his killer or killers remain at large. The 13-year-old Fort Worth boy's body was found here in Cobb Park late Wednesday afternoon. Lieutenant Oliver Ball of the Fort Worth Homicide Bureau is commanding the search for the killer, Paul Shelton. Lieutenant Ball describes the current status of the search.
Well, at this time, we don't have any suspects. We're getting many calls from the public, which we asked for yesterday, asked for their help, and they're certainly responding. We're running all of these leads down. Some of them we will have to go back over. We're hoping that some of them will turn out to be real good, too.
This afternoon, I talked with Paul's mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Homer Shelton, and his brother Pat.
The park should be cleaned out, and we need more patrol, definitely.
Mr. Shelton, what are your feelings concerning the entire matter?
Well, I think the park is just grown up too much. I believe it ought to be cleared out a whole lot.
Where it would
all
be
that underbrush and stuff is down there. I believe it could be cleared out a little better than what it is.
A God-fearing boy, loved by his parents and by his friends alike. He obeyed them. He came here for the last time by himself. He was last seen about 3 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, riding on horseback. Art Sinclair, Channel 8 News on the Move, Cobb Park in Fort Worth.
This recent ruling on obscenity laws, apparently upholding the state of Texas laws as written, may affect your business. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, if the law comes out and tells us it's illegal and we can't sell this stuff, I'll close down and cooperate fully with them.
Without any argument or test case?
Yes, sir.
What kind of movies do you show?
There are underground movies, but they're not hardcore.
Now, when you say they're underground movies, but not hardcore, I thought hardcore is what puts a movie underground.
Well, it's, I guess you could say in between underground and overground.
But it's certainly not a family movie.
No, you wouldn't see it on Sunday night movies.
What kind of crowds do you draw?
Well, we do draw some pretty prominent people. We do have a few judges come in occasionally, and out-of-town businessmen.
What determines pornography or obscenity?
Well, the Supreme Court held that anything was pornographic that appealed to the prurient interests, was against the conscience of the community, and had no redeeming social value. Now, that's the only guidelines we got to go by, and it's a little hard to know what's a prurient interest, but for instance, certainly your stag movies are. They've also held that nudes in themselves are not pornographic. But I think this will free us to go ahead and try cases, and the jury itself ends up determining what is the community conscience on this.
Should operators, book salesmen, strip club owners, movie theater managers that have felt a little bit exempt in the last couple of months, should they start looking over their shoulder?
I think they should, and I hope that the police who handle an investigation will get after those that are selling and dealing in pornographic matter, and I'm sure they will, and we'll accept charges and prosecute.
Do these titles disturb you? If so, the pictures inside would probably terrify you. But then that's maybe just your opinion. What about your neighbor? He may not think so much the way you do, and therein lies the discrepancy in the obscenity laws, whether in Texas or anywhere else in the country. What's objectionable to you may not be to your neighbor, but then on the other hand, what's okay with you could just terrify your neighbor. The gap between here and the Supreme Court may get wider as obscenity laws vary from state to state, and somebody is going to have to decide what is and what isn't. I wouldn't want to be that person, but I am Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move. How big is this business in the city of Dallas?
Not very big, I don't think. We've got 3 stores, and there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 other stores besides these.
How do they gross?
I couldn't tell you. The gross sales isn't very much on the things. There's not that much money in this business.
How did you get involved?
I went broke in a fried chicken business, and I had to get into something to feed my family, and this was what was available at the time.
Kathy, when did you leave San Antonio?
Thursday morning, May the 28th.
And any excitement along the way?
Yes, sir, we've had a little excitement. We nearly got thrown in jail in one town, and my horse has cut his foot, and we've met a lot of interesting people.
I know I'm asking the questions, but give the answers to the audience, and I'll ask why the shooting iron.
Well, our sheriff thought it was a good idea.
He'll be back in just a minute. We've been going through this all afternoon trying to shoot this, and she'll be right back. So come right on around here, Kathy, and we'll keep right on rolling, and I'll ask you now, do you plan on doing this again?
Not anytime soon.
You mentioned a while ago that the sheriff was instrumental in helping, and let's say hello over here if we made a Sheriff Roy Brockway. Sheriff?
Well, this little girl contacted us, her mother did, and told her she was going to ride a horse from San Antone, so we contacted the 12 sheriffs between here and San Antone and told them what would be happening. We set the little girl up in our home each night, and the sheriffs and the people has been out of their way, and we really appreciated here in Kaufman the courtesy that the people have showed us from San Antone this way.
Now, Kathy, you went about this the old-fashioned way, and that is by horseback. Did you camp out any along the way?
We camped out the first night, but we camped out in a man's yard that was really nice.
Very good. Well, for once, the cutaway line to a Channel 8 News story is going to be very, very accurate, because in this particular instance, this is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News, really on the move. Sheriff?
Let's go, Blue. Come on, Blue.
When the census comes in Dallas County, as it appears, will have more than 1 million residents, then this Harris Amendment limiting the amount of filing fees will go into effect, and the party will have less money. Is that not right?
Yes, that's true, and it's going to pose a real problem for Dallas County. It would mean that had the census been in this year, we could not have financed the election that we have just held. We'll have to do it one of two ways. Since the Constitution prohibits the state from paying any cost of the election, and in fact a lot of people object to the state paying it anyhow, unless the Constitution is amended and the state pay a portion of the election, the only thing that could happen would seem to me to be one of two. One would be that we solicit volunteers to work for nothing in the election, or if we can't get volunteers, try to get people to work for less money than we pay now. The present pay is $2 an hour for the precinct workers, and of course that's not real high for a 14-hour day.
Are you having trouble getting now people working even paid for the election, though?
Yes, we do. It's always a hard problem. In most precincts, we're able to find them. But in a given precinct for a given election, it's difficult to find people to work. They're tied up. They worked all the week. The election's on Saturday. They simply don't want to work an extra day. I think I'd say I'm disappointed. However, I'm not surprised. We had forecast that there would be a light turnout in this election. It seems now that it's going to be lighter than we had estimated earlier.
What is the cost, does it look at this point, per vote in this election?
The cost to the party, and these figures don't include the amount of money that the candidates spend and that their supporters spend on them, but the amount of money that the party has spent to hold this election now looks like it may cost above $3 per vote for the votes that are cast in this election, which will be an all-time high if that works out.
we have no other legal entity that is overlapping in this case. There may be later formed water districts or sanitary districts which could do the same thing, but we have nothing that exists now except the Council of Governments as a overlapping agency.
What was your reaction to the reception that you got at the hearing here this morning?
Oh, very good. I appreciate it especially that some of the cities have already begun to think of this problem, and they recognize that there is going to be a problem. The county governments, of course, are already active in these areas too. The problem is to get together now and let's unify our forces and really make the plan work.